Home is where the heart is. Or at least that's what we're told. But what if home was more than just a place where we spend our days and years? What if it was a place we could never truly leave? Welcome back, spooky souls, to another episode of Let's Talk Spooky. I'm your host, Shauna, and tonight we're going to be stepping beyond the well-known haunted houses of mainstream media and into the shadows of the more forgotten ones. These are houses the world rarely talks about, but you won't be able to forget them once we're done exploring. If you've just stumbled upon our little community of spookies, welcome. This podcast explores the eerie space where folklore, urban legend, and haunted history come together. If that's something you want to hear more of, click the follow button wherever you listen to your podcast. It helps our spooky community grow. And leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys. So, if you're ready, grab your lantern, step lightly on the creaking floors, and let's talk spooky. In the quiet village of Ria, South Goa, India, down the cracked lane of a half-swallowed jungle, stands a house that's surrounded by local folklore. This elegant Portuguese-style bungalow, passed down through generations, has a dark past that, if the local stories are true, its resident family never truly left. Welcome to the DeMello house. The DeMello family were a wealthy, well-respected within their community. After the death of their parents, Peter and Anthony DeMello found themselves left with not only the grief of a family fractured, but the unresolved choice of who was to inherit their beloved family home, since there was no formal will for the estate left. As young boys, locals say these brothers grew up playing in the courtyard, racing through long halls, hiding behind the heavy curtains when guests would come to call, claiming from all who saw the brothers that they were close, nearly inseparable. But as we have seen throughout history many times before, money has a way of changing people, even those who seemingly seem inseparable. This was no different for the DeMello brothers, first sharing the home in what locals call a tolerated piece, one living on the south end of the house and the other on the west. As it is, over time the fighting began to be heard by neighboring homes, fighting that would last long into the night. This next part is a bit of mixed history between local legend and historical documentation surrounding what was believed to have happened in the final nights of the brothers' time in that house. However, in all my research, I was not able to locate a definitive explanation for what transpired. So, I'll tell the story the way the locals do. One night, the shouting began again. But this time, it was different. It was not the kind the neighbors whisper about behind closed doors. This was louder, violent. Just as quickly as it had begun, though, it ended, and the house fell into an eerie silence. By morning, the elder brother Peter was dead. No one knows how, and there was no formal investigation conducted. Only local rumors circled. But after the incident, something strange happened. The younger brother locked himself inside the home and never stepped out again. And it seemed as time passed without seeing him, he simply vanished. Some locals say that he must have fled in the night to start over, worn by guilt of his crimes, but others tell a more chilling tale of something much more sinister. That the house the brothers loved so dearly kept them, making sure that neither of them left it alone ever again. Since then, the house has slowly been claimed by the nature surrounding it, a decaying reminder of the past. Though if this legend has shown us anything, It's that a house is never haunted by what lives inside. It's haunted by what was left behind. I have gathered a few local tales from those who have visited the DeMello house and were willing to share their stories. It's one of the most shared stories about the house, passed down from student to student, whispered from campus party to campus party, around bonfires and local pubs. It always begins with the same challenge. Let's go see if the house is really haunted. One night, a group of college students, 4 of them to be exact, took the challenge seriously. They grabbed a camera, a flashlight, and headed out past the village. Under the cover of night, the plan was simple: explore the house, get a few spooky pictures, and maybe catch something strange to brag about later. The house was as abandoned as to be expected. Broken windows, vines curling through the floorboards, air thick with rot and dust. But as soon as they stepped inside, the mood shifted. It wasn't the silence that got to them, it was the sounds. A man's voice, sharp, desperate, pleading. It echoed through the hallways. No words could be made out, just the tone, like someone arguing, begging. The students froze in place. They hadn't been in the house for more than a few seconds, but they didn't feel like they could move forward. The sound suddenly stopped, and the house was silent again. One of the students called out, but there was no answer. Just the creaking of old floor beams above them. Hesitant, they moved forward through the central hallway, their flashlights shaking as the beam raked across the rotting floor. And then they saw it. In the far corner of the room, just past the broken staircase, stood a tall, thin figure, facing the wall, not moving, not reacting, just standing. Slowly the figure turned, more like flipped in an unnatural speed in their direction. Then it rested its gaze on the students. Its eyes were hollow, wide, not glowing, not angry, just empty, black voids. Fear ripped through them, the kind of deep primal fear that makes your legs move before your brain reacts. They didn't stop running until they reached the main road, their hearts racing, their lungs burning for air, not daring at all to look behind them. They promised they'd never go back. Not because they were afraid of ghosts, because they were afraid of that thing that might be standing there, waiting for someone, with its empty eyes. One of the most compelling aspects that I found during my research of this house was that no one who visited the house ever had the same story to tell. It seemed that the house would shift and change and mimic whoever walked through its doors. Which brings us to our final DeMello brothers story. And this might make you think twice before adding it to your own creepy vacation bucket list, which I'm sure all you spookies have that are listening right now. I know mine do, and mine is definitely New Orleans. Bring on the vampires, my friends. Now back to the story. Locals say the brothers didn't just stay trapped inside. As the house decayed and became consumed by the jungle, the brothers' spirits may have drifted outwards into the fields that surround the house. Locals tell of strange things out there, tall grass that bends but never breaks, the kind of grass that seems to lean as you walk past it, like it's listening to you or reaching for you. There have also been reports of those passing the house hearing voices just off the path, close enough to the house that you can make out the sound, but not loud enough that you can hear what's being said. Like a muttering. Some say they hear sounds of weeping, others say it's like a man's voice whispering. But no one has lived there for decades, so they don't know where the voices are coming from. One woman swears 2 figures were standing in the field behind the house one day, one facing the road and the other facing the house, still, but far too still. When she blinked, they were gone. A few believe it's the spirits of the brothers themselves, one unable to leave, the other refusing to go. Caught not in the walls of the home, but in the land they fought so hard to keep. As if the soil remembered the arguments that night, the blood that was shed onto the floors. As if the very earth the house sits on is keeping score. Here's the part that makes people stop in their tracks. Sometimes, when the breeze picks up and the sun is just ready to disappear, the field behind the DeMello house moves like something's walking through it. But no one's there. No people, no animals, just the sound of rustling grass. A chilling certainty that someone is out there, watching the house, watching the street, from the land itself. Maybe that's where they are, the DeMello brothers, not pacing the haunted hallways, but wandering the lands of their broken home, still locked in the silence, still looking for something, for someone to set them free. And that's why no one stays on the property for long. Because not only the fields are watching, but the earth is remembering. But not all ghosts pace the halls of abandoned ruins. Some haunt places far more beautiful, well-kept, welcoming, even where the tea is warm and the windows overlook a quiet harbor and a steady sea. If you're still, and if you really listen, you might hear the footsteps through the house at night. You might catch the scent of sorrow left in its wake. So let's leave the broken shadows of Goa and step into the waiting silence of Nova Scotia. This story is of the Bailey House and the woman who still watches from the window. Built in the 1770s during a period of British expansion and Loyalist settlements, the Bailey House is one of the oldest surviving wood-framed homes in Canada. It was constructed at the time when tensions between the British colonies were rising, and Nova Scotia was rapidly transforming into the hub of military and merchandise activity. Over the decades, the house served many roles: private residence, fashionable boarding house, a gathering place for naval officers, politicians, and clergymen. And by the early 1800s, it had come under the care of Elizabeth Marm Bailey, a Loyalist widow with a sharp mind and a strict sense of propriety. Her boarding house became one of the finest in town, hosting distinguished guests, including Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent, and father of Queen Victoria. Despite its elegance and reputation, the Bailey House has never fully let go of its past. Today, it still stands quiet, dignified, and well-preserved example of Georgian architecture and authentic period details. Functioning to the public as a charming bed and breakfast, which you can book a stay at, by the way. It gives its visitors who seek a cozy seaside accommodation with historical flair just that. Holding on to its rich history, original fireplaces, antique furnishings, and a view of Annapolis Basin, which may be why the ghosts seem to linger a little longer here. Those who've spent time here will tell you history isn't all that lives within these walls. Some say the house remembers its tragic days, too. The most popular story that locals speak of is the woman in white, often seen on the streets at dusk, standing motionless in the second-story window, overlooking the bay. Some believe she's Marm Bailey herself, keeping watch after a long time, guarding the house she loved so much. Others whisper about a sea captain's wife, a woman whose husband sailed off and never returned. Her story goes, she waited for him every evening, dressed in her finest, watching the harbor for his ship to return. But the tides brought back no sails, and the house, over time, grew more quiet. They say her longing for him never died, and to this day, her spirit still waits for the return of her love. Guests who come for the history tend to leave with something else, a chill on the back of their neck as they walk through the historical hallways, the scent of perfume that lingers a little too long in the air. And the most chilling, probably, are the accounts of shadow figures that vanish just as you turn a corner or enter a room. So whether you're a historical buff or a haunted house hunter, the Bailey House still opens its doors for the public. It serves warm tea, comfortable rooms, and maybe a little more company than you were hoping to book with. So please, if you find yourself in beautiful Nova Scotia and you're feeling brave, book a room. Stay the night. But before you close your eyes, remember to glance at the window, because you never know who'll be looking out to the ocean, waiting for sails that will never come. Thank you for touring these relics of haunted history with me. Maybe these houses have shown us that hauntings don't always come with echoed screams and slamming doors. Maybe they can stand quieter, woven into the walls, drifting through the fields, or standing behind glass windows, waiting for lost loves. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow Let's Talk Spooky wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you're feeling brave, leave a review. I'd love to hear from you. Just maybe don't leave one from a creaky old house at midnight. But if you do, keep your flashlight handy and your senses sharp, and say hi to the ghosts for me. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and stay spooky. This episode was written and produced by me, Shauna. If you have your own eerie tale or hometown haunting you want to share, email us at letstalkspookypodcast@gmail.com or follow us at Let's Talk Spooky Podcast on Instagram.